I use a variety of tools depending on what any given project demands. The simplest project is a one-camera shoot and then just use iMovie or a PC equivalent to edit the timeline and add basic text. This works well for video of small events or simple demonstrations. Common errors in filming include distracting background, poor lighting, overzealous zooming, and poor eye contact. Before filming, you need to impress on the speaker that they need to have an outline, be succinct, practice, and limit their time. Most teachers can cut a half-hour lecture to a 5-minute abstract that with text and animations can be very effective. The internet audience has a very short attention span. It goes without saying that the ad-libbed script or outline must be well thought out before making a camera date. If a longer story is to be told, you'll want to have a storyboard that can then be broken into shorter scripts. You want them to each be able to stand alone while still being linked in logical concept groups. Being self-taught, I have learned the hard way. In this early basement shot of Dr. Lahr's resonance demo, I was so happy to film him in his lab that I didn't pay attention to the lighting, the distracting computers, or their whirring noises. The next time we filmed that demo, we used a quiet room, a white wall, and side lighting. Notice that we intentionally left the white wall for added text later. Here I took advantage of a public lecture, but the room was so dark that the slides were difficult to see, so it couldn't be used easily in iMovie. I ended up spending a lot of time later putting it into Final Cut Pro and adding arrows. Learn how to film people. There's a 1/3 guideline that recommends with portraits, eyes are about a third of the way from the top. If you have them in the middle, the viewer is distracted by it. Move the camera in and out to find the right perspective. Digital World offers this cheat sheet to show good places to crop body parts. The green shows where a body can be cut, and the red where they advise to avoid truncation. There are no hard and fast rules about filming. Many successful films have been made by holding the camera, but when you film alone, a tripod is really helpful. Now let's look at using 2 cameras. The second camera allows you to make what's called B-roll, to replace the A-roll footage for emphasizing something or adding variety. It does require much more editing. When I use 2 cameras by myself, I place a long view camera on a tripod to catch much of the speaker and put the second camera closer in at an oblique angle that is most effective for that demo in ambient lighting. Use creativity on B-roll. Lighting makes things look more professional, but isn't necessary for most applications. If you have a second person on one camera, make it clear in advance how much artistic license he or she gets. It can happen that both people have zoomed in on a face only to miss important action. When you use 2 cameras, you need to have the speaker make a fast motion. Here I match the highest point his finger reaches. I use Final Cut Pro because it uses timeline layers. Here you see the layers from camera 1 and camera 2, and I've already synced the audio. The beauty of layers is that you can cut windows in the top layer to reveal the lower layer and choose which camera shot works best with the dialogue. In projects where I'm replacing a graphic of something being discussed, I drag the graphic to create a new layer. Since it's the top layer, that's the image above the other video layers. I'm not that fond of Final Cut Pro for animating layers because the effects, scale, position, opacity, rotation, etc. are not intuitive to manipulate. So for animating, I go to Adobe After Effects. Like Final Cut Pro, it uses layers. Here's a screen grab for this project that I'm making for this workshop. Even though I've only made the first 2 minutes, there are already over 40 layers. What I like about After Effects, unlike Final Cut, is that although it takes some getting used to, you can easily manipulate the effects of any given graphic along the timeline, such as making a bouncing ball or moving arrows to highlight what you're talking about. Here I'll drag a red laser arrow file from the bin and place it on the timeline. You see the arrow in its default position in the viewing window. To make it active, I open the transform effects on position and scale and rotation. But first I want to mark the timeline position and rotation, then toggle ahead in time a few seconds. Move the arrow to the next position, closer to the blue block, and change the rotation a bit. And now my 5 minutes are up, and thank you